Hello, I'm Dr. David Morgan, and welcome back. What if everything you've been told about blood sugar is wrong? Not slightly wrong, not a little off, completely, fundamentally wrong. And what if the real answer, the one that could actually change how you feel, was sitting right in your kitchen this whole time? Here's what most people don't realize. Millions of people over the age of 65 are walking around with dangerous blood sugar levels right now, and they have no idea. They're doing everything right, taking their medication, cutting the sugar, watching the carbs, and yet their numbers won't budge. Their energy stays low, their feet tingle, their vision blurs, and their doctor just adjusts the prescription and moves on. But what if the prescription isn't the answer? What if there's a single food, one simple, ordinary food, that does something to your blood sugar that modern medicine still struggles to fully explain? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear could genuinely change your life. Let's start with something most people get completely wrong. When we talk about high blood sugar, most people immediately think, I ate too much sugar, or I need to cut carbs, or I need to exercise more. And yes, those things matter. But here's the real problem. That's only the surface. That's the tip of the iceberg. The real issue goes much deeper. And when you're over 60, it goes deeper still. You see, blood sugar isn't just about what you eat. It's about what your body does with what you eat. And after the age of 60, your body starts doing something very different with sugar than it did when you were younger. Here's what most people don't realize. Inside your body right now, there's a battle happening. Every single time you eat, even something as innocent as a piece of bread or a banana, your body is trying to manage the surge of glucose that enters your bloodstream. The way it does that is through a hormone called insulin. You've probably heard of it. Insulin is like the key that unlocks your cells so glucose can enter and be used as energy. When insulin works properly, blood sugar goes up after a meal, insulin is released, the cells open up, glucose enters, and blood sugar comes back down. Beautiful system. Works like clockwork. But here's the problem. After age 60, something goes wrong with this system. And most doctors focus only on one part of the problem, the part they can measure easily, the numbers on a blood test. What they don't talk about is the invisible damage happening inside your cells, the real mechanism that's making everything worse. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Here's the hidden mechanism that almost nobody explains. It's called insulin resistance. Now, you may have heard that term before, but most people don't truly understand what it means inside the body. So let me explain it with a simple analogy that will make it crystal clear. Imagine your cells are like houses, and glucose, blood sugar, is like a delivery truck trying to drop off packages. Insulin is the key that unlocks the front door of the house so the truck can make the delivery. In a healthy body, the key works perfectly. The door opens, the package is delivered, blood sugar drops. Life goes on. But in someone with insulin resistance, something has gone wrong with the locks. The key, insulin, is still there, but the lock is jammed. It doesn't respond properly. The delivery truck shows up, waits, and can't get in. So what does your body do? It sends more keys. It produces more and more insulin to try to force the lock open. And here's where it gets dangerous. All that extra insulin circulating in your blood causes its own problems. It promotes fat storage, it increases inflammation, it makes you hungrier, it disrupts your sleep, and most importantly, it eventually burns out the cells in your pancreas that produce insulin in the first place. This is where the hidden damage begins. And here's the part that most people find shocking. This process doesn't start overnight. It starts years, sometimes decades, before your blood sugar ever shows up as abnormal on a lab test. By the time your doctor flags your blood sugar as high, insulin resistance has often been building quietly in your body for 10, 15, even 20 years. And when you're over 65, the clock is moving faster than ever. Let's talk about why this gets so much worse after you turn 60. Your body at 65 is a completely different machine than it was at 40, and not just in the ways you can see. Here's what happens inside. First, your muscle mass drops. This is one of the biggest factors almost nobody talks about. Muscle is your body's primary glucose disposal site. When you eat, your muscles are supposed to pull in a large amount of that glucose and use it for energy. But after age 60, most people lose significant muscle mass due to a process called sarcopenia. Less muscle means less glucose uptake. Blood sugar stays high longer after every meal. Second, your mitochondria, the tiny energy factories inside every cell, start to slow down. They become less efficient. They can't process glucose as quickly. This creates a backup in the system. Think of it like a highway that was built for 10,000 cars a day, but suddenly has to handle 50,000. Traffic backs up everywhere. Third, your hormones shift dramatically. Estrogen in women, testosterone in men, growth hormone in both. These hormones play a surprisingly large role in insulin sensitivity. As they decline with age, insulin resistance gets worse. It's not just about feeling older. These hormone changes are chemically making your blood sugar harder to control. Fourth, your gut changes. And this is where things get really interesting. The bacteria living in your digestive system, your gut microbiome, have a profound effect on how your body processes glucose. After age 60, diversity in the gut microbiome tends to decrease. Beneficial bacteria that help regulate blood sugar become less abundant. The less friendly species take over. And this directly impairs the body's ability to manage blood sugar effectively. Fifth, chronic low-grade inflammation. This one is enormous. Aging itself creates a state that researchers call inflammaging, chronic silent inflammation that runs in the background like a computer program you can't see. This inflammation directly interferes with insulin signaling. It jams the locks. It worsens insulin resistance. And it creates a vicious cycle where high blood sugar feeds more inflammation, which causes more insulin resistance, which drives blood sugar higher. And sixth, sleep. After 60, sleep quality almost always declines. And here's the thing, just one night of poor sleep can increase insulin resistance by up to 25%, one single night. For older adults dealing with chronic poor sleep, this becomes a relentless drain on their blood sugar control. The point is this. High blood sugar after 60 is not a personal failure. It's not just about willpower or discipline. It is a biological storm with many layers. And that's exactly why the simple advice, eat less, move more, take this pill, so often fails to fully solve it. But something else does, something you wouldn't expect. I want to tell you about a woman named Margaret. Margaret is 68 years old, retired, lives in the Midwest. She spent her whole career as a nurse. She understood health. She thought she was doing everything right. About 4 years ago, her doctor told her that her blood sugar was creeping into the pre-diabetic range. She was shocked. She wasn't overweight. She cooked her own meals. She walked 3 times a week. Her doctor put her on a mild medication and told her to cut back on sweets and refined carbohydrates. She did, but her numbers barely moved. She started walking every single day. Still not enough. She tried a low-carb diet. Her numbers improved a little, but she felt exhausted all the time. She couldn't sustain it, and the moment she eased up, the numbers crept right back up. For 3 years, Margaret felt like she was fighting a losing battle. She told her daughter, "I'm a nurse, I know what to do, but nothing I do seems to work anymore." Then one evening, she was watching a documentary about traditional diets in the Mediterranean region, and she noticed something. In certain villages in Greece and Italy, older adults, people in their 70s and 80s, had remarkably healthy blood sugar levels, and their diet wasn't the extreme, restrictive diet she'd been trying to follow. It was built around one specific food that they ate in some form every single day. She started doing research. She found that this food had been used for centuries in these regions, not just as nutrition but almost as medicine. She decided to try it, just this one addition. She didn't change anything else. Within 3 weeks, her fasting blood sugar dropped by 18 points. Within 2 months, it dropped another 12. Her doctor was surprised, asked her what she'd changed. She told him. He admitted he didn't fully understand why it was working as well as it was. And Margaret? She said, "I finally feel like my body is cooperating with me again." I'll tell you exactly what that food is in just a moment. But first, I want to give you something important. A simple sign you can check right now to understand your own blood sugar situation. Here's an easy self-check that most people never think about. Look at the back of your hands, or your forearms. Do you notice that your skin feels thin? Almost papery? Like it bruises easily? This is partly an aging change, but it's also worsened by chronically elevated blood sugar, which damages the tiny blood vessels near the surface of the skin and reduces collagen production. Now press 2 fingers gently against your shin, the front of your lower leg. Hold for 5 seconds. Release. Is there a small dent or indentation that takes more than a second to spring back? That can be a sign of fluid retention and poor circulation, both of which are worsened by elevated blood sugar. Third, think about your energy levels, not just in general, but specifically after meals. Do you feel a strong energy crash about an hour or 2 after eating? Do you feel heavy, foggy, or sleepy after a meal? This is called post-meal glucose spike and crash. It's one of the clearest signs that your blood sugar is swinging too wide after eating. Healthy blood sugar should rise gently after a meal and return smoothly to baseline. When insulin resistance is present, it spikes fast, crashes hard, and leaves you feeling wiped out. Fourth, night urination. If you're waking up 2 or more times a night to use the bathroom, this is a classic sign that your kidneys may be working overtime to filter excess glucose from your blood. Now, none of these signs are a diagnosis. Please hear me say that clearly. If you're experiencing these symptoms, talk to your doctor and get your blood work checked. There is no substitute for a real medical evaluation. But these signs are your body's way of trying to warn you, and now you know what to look for. And here's what changes everything about how you respond. The one food. The food that Margaret discovered. The food that's been eaten in Mediterranean villages for thousands of years. The food that modern researchers keep coming back to in study after study when looking at blood sugar regulation. That food is raw apple cider vinegar. And before you think, oh, I've heard of that, stay with me. Because what most people don't understand is why it works. And that why is what makes all the difference in how you use it. Here's what happens in your body when you consume raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar before a meal. Apple cider vinegar contains a compound called acetic acid. When acetic acid enters your digestive system, something remarkable happens. It slows down the rate at which your stomach empties. In other words, it slows down how fast food leaves your stomach and enters your small intestine. Why does that matter? Because the faster food moves from your stomach into your intestine, the faster glucose floods into your bloodstream. That's what causes those sharp spikes, those dangerous peaks in blood sugar after eating. When apple cider vinegar slows that process down, even modestly, the glucose enters more gradually, more like a slow stream than a sudden flood, and that gives your body time to manage it. Insulin doesn't have to spike nearly as hard, cells aren't overwhelmed, blood sugar stays more stable, but that's only the beginning. Acetic acid also appears to activate something called AMPK, an enzyme that acts like a master switch in your metabolism. AMPK is sometimes called the body's fuel gauge. When it's activated, it tells your muscles to pull in glucose more aggressively. It tells your liver to slow down its production of glucose. It helps the entire system work more like it did when you were younger. In simple terms, it helps unjam the lock. It begins to address the root of insulin resistance, not just the symptom of high blood sugar. Now add this: raw apple cider vinegar, especially the unfiltered, cloudy kind with what's called the mother IM, also contains beneficial bacteria and prebiotic compounds. Remember when we talked about the gut microbiome and how it affects blood sugar? Apple cider vinegar feeds some of those beneficial bacteria. It may help restore some of the microbial diversity that declines with age. And there's one more piece: inflammation. The chronic, silent inflammation that drives insulin resistance in older adults. The acetic acid in apple cider vinegar has shown anti-inflammatory properties. It may help quiet some of that background inflammation. Not eliminate it, but reduce it enough that the entire system starts to work better. This is why Margaret's doctor couldn't fully explain it. Because the mechanism isn't just one thing, it's several things happening at once, all pointing in the same direction: lower blood sugar, better insulin response, more energy, better sleep. And the beautiful thing is how simple it is. Here is the exact daily protocol: simple, practical, and easy to maintain even for older adults. The most important thing to understand first is this: apple cider vinegar must always be diluted before you drink it. Never drink it straight. Undiluted vinegar can damage the enamel on your teeth and irritate the lining of your esophagus. Always, always dilute it. Here's the basic approach that many people find most effective. Take 1 to 2 teaspoons of raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar. Make sure it's the kind with the mother, which looks like a cloudy, stringy sediment in the bottle. Shake the bottle before pouring. Mix it into a full glass of water, at least 8 ounces. Some people add a small squeeze of lemon, which makes it more pleasant to drink. Drink this approximately 20 to 30 minutes before your 2 largest meals of the day, usually before lunch and before dinner. That's it. That's the core habit. Now, a few important details. First, use a straw if you can. This helps protect your tooth enamel from the acid. Second, rinse your mouth with plain water after drinking it. Third, if you have acid reflux, a history of stomach ulcers, or any digestive condition, check with your doctor before starting this practice. The acetic acid can aggravate certain conditions. Fourth, be patient. This is not a one-time fix. The effects are cumulative. The metabolic changes it supports happen gradually, over weeks. Now let's talk about how to make this even more powerful, because apple cider vinegar alone is effective, but when you combine it with a few other simple daily habits, the results compound significantly. Add a short walk after meals, even 10 to 15 minutes. Walking after eating is one of the most underrated blood sugar tools available to anyone at any age. Your leg muscles, the largest muscles in the body, pull glucose out of the bloodstream when they're active. A short post-meal walk can reduce post-meal blood sugar spikes by a meaningful amount. It's simple. It's free. It works. Pay attention to meal order. Research has consistently shown that eating vegetables and protein before carbohydrates at a meal significantly reduces the glucose spike from that meal. Eat your salad first. Eat your protein first. Then eat your bread or rice or pasta. Just that simple sequence change can be as effective as some medications in reducing post-meal glucose peaks. Include more resistant starch in your diet. Foods like slightly underripe bananas, cooked and cooled rice, cooked and cooled potatoes, and legumes like lentils and chickpeas contain a type of fiber that resists digestion and feeds beneficial gut bacteria. Resistant starch is one of the most powerful dietary tools for improving insulin sensitivity over time. Reduce highly processed vegetable oils. Oils like corn oil, soybean oil, sunflower oil, and canola oil, when consumed in large amounts, appear to increase inflammation and worsen insulin resistance. Replacing them with extra virgin olive oil, which itself has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity, is a powerful upgrade. Prioritize protein at breakfast. Older adults tend to undereat protein, particularly at breakfast. High-protein breakfasts, eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, have been shown to significantly improve blood sugar control throughout the entire day. Not just at breakfast, all day. This is one of the most impactful and least known strategies for older adults specifically. And finally, prioritize sleep. I know that's easier said than done after 60, but even small improvements in sleep quality can have measurable effects on blood sugar. Simple things like keeping your bedroom cool and dark, avoiding screens for 30 minutes before bed, and going to bed and waking at consistent times can move the needle. When you combine these habits with the daily apple cider vinegar practice, you're not just treating a symptom, you're changing the environment inside your body. You're making it easier for your blood sugar to come down and stay down. Now let's talk about what you can realistically expect, because I want to set honest expectations here. In the first few days, many people notice something simple but meaningful. They feel less of that heavy, foggy crash after meals. Their energy after eating starts to feel more stable. This is one of the earliest signs that post-meal glucose spikes are beginning to moderate. It's not dramatic, but it's real. By the end of the first week to 10 days, some people begin to notice that their morning fasting blood sugar, the number they check when they wake up, starts to inch downward. Not dramatically, maybe 5 to 10 points. But the direction is changing. At the 2 to 3 week mark, which is where Margaret's experience falls, many people report a more noticeable shift. Their energy levels feel more consistent throughout the day. The afternoon energy crash that's so common after lunch becomes less severe. Some people find they're sleeping slightly better. Their appetite starts to feel more regulated. Fewer intense cravings for sugar and refined carbohydrates. By the 4 to 6 week mark, with consistent practice, many people see meaningful improvements in their fasting blood sugar readings. Some see improvements in their post-meal numbers. A few people report that their doctor has started asking questions about what they've changed. By 3 months, for people who stay consistent with the protocol, the changes can be genuinely significant. Not just in blood sugar numbers, but in how they feel, in their energy, in their mental clarity, in the reduction of that heavy, sluggish feeling that so many older adults have learned to accept as just getting old. But here's the most important message I want you to take away from this. This is not a cure. This is not a replacement for medical care. If you are on medication for diabetes or blood sugar management, you must work with your doctor as you make these changes. Because as your blood sugar improves, your medication may need to be adjusted, and that is a medical decision that has to be made with professional guidance. What this is a powerful addition to your approach. A tool that works with your body's natural systems, not against them. And here's what most people don't realize about the body. At 65, 70, 75, your body still has the capacity to respond. It still wants to heal. It still wants to regulate. It has not given up. And when you give it the right signals, it responds. There are a few important warnings I want to share with you before we close. If you are taking insulin or any medication that lowers blood sugar, apple cider vinegar can enhance those effects. This means your blood sugar could drop lower than expected. Do not begin this protocol without telling your doctor first. Hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, is a serious medical event. If you have kidney disease, the acidity of apple cider vinegar can be problematic. Talk to your doctor. If you have a history of eating disorders, please speak with a healthcare provider before making significant dietary changes. If your blood sugar is very high, consistently above 200 or 250 on a home monitor, or if you have symptoms like extreme thirst, frequent urination, blurred vision, or wounds that won't heal, please seek medical care promptly. These are signs that need professional attention, not just dietary changes. And if you've never had your blood sugar checked and you're over the age of 60, please go get it checked. A simple fasting blood glucose test can tell you a tremendous amount. Catching elevated blood sugar early, before it becomes full diabetes, is one of the most important things you can do for your long-term health. Your doctor is your partner in this process. The goal is not to replace medical care. The goal is to walk into your doctor's office with better numbers, more energy, and a body that is actively cooperating with the treatment. Let me close with something I really want you to hear. There is a lie that our culture tells older adults. It goes like this. This is just part of getting old. Your body is slowing down. You have to accept it. That lie keeps people from trying. It keeps people from hoping, and it keeps people stuck. The truth is different. The truth is that the human body, even at 65, even at 70, even at 75, is one of the most responsive, adaptive, and resilient systems in the known universe. When you change the inputs, the outputs change. When you reduce the flood of glucose hitting your bloodstream at every meal, your cells get a chance to breathe. When you feed the bacteria in your gut that support better metabolism, your whole system starts to communicate better. When you quiet the chronic inflammation that's been jamming the locks, the keys start working again. Margaret, the nurse from the Midwest who felt like her body had stopped cooperating, she came back for her 6-month checkup and her doctor reduced her medication. Not eliminated it, reduced it, with medical supervision. Because her numbers had changed enough that the original dose was now too much. She told her doctor, "I just added one thing, and everything else started working." That's what this is really about. Not miracles, not magic, not pills, not quick fixes. It's about understanding your body at the age you actually are. It's about working with the biology of aging instead of being blindsided by it. Your body is trying to tell you something. Your energy levels, your blood sugar swings, your afternoon crashes, your restless nights. It's not giving up. It's asking for help. And now you have something to offer it. Start simple. 1 teaspoon of raw apple cider vinegar in a glass of water before lunch tomorrow. That's the first step. Just one step. And as you build from there, the walks after meals, the protein in the morning, the meal sequencing, the better sleep, you'll start to feel something that many older adults describe as almost surprising. You'll feel like your body is on your side again. Because it was never against you. It was just waiting for the right signal. And now you know what to send it.